And tonight, stunning allegations against Intuit, the maker of TurboTax, the popular tax preparation software. Two whistleblowers claim that Intuit knew criminals used its tax software to file fraudulent returns and allowed that to happen, and that the company is making money off the fraud. Now, Intuit, for its part, denies the accusations and says the company is committed to fighting tax fraud. One of the whistleblowers joins me now, Shane MacDougall. He used to work at Intuit as a principal security engineer. Also joining me, Adam Levin, founder of Identity Theft 911. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Shane, these allegations are surprising, astonishing. Tell us who's to blame for people having their refunds stolen when they use Intuit software.
Well, ultimately, the hackers are to blame, but Intuit, and I'm going to assert other industry leaders, are to blame. Intuit knew that fraud was happening, and they deliberately rolled back the protections, rolled back the alerting of the IRS so that more fraudulent returns would get through that they could book as revenue. And additionally, returns that made it through, but then the non-payment of the refund transfer was rejected by the IRS, or sorry, not rejected, but sent back by the IRS. They didn't pay it in full. Intuit writes that off as bad debt.
Okay,
so they get it coming or
let me
going.
Interrupt you here, Shane, because this is a complicated story. We're going to break this down for our viewers. I want to play some sound that comes from a conference call with one of the executives at Intuit. Let's hear that sound now.
Are going to choose whatever they choose while we are all trying to solve the Uber problem of having the IRS be extremely good at noticing a fraudulent return no matter where it comes from. We want the IRS to be good enough to notice the abstract patterns and shut it down at the source, not based on whether, any one particular vendor has built a better mousetrap than the other.
Adam, to you look at this kind of thing all the time. The IRS, of course, is in charge of making sure that tax returns are true.
Right.
And Intuit, for its part, says it's not our job to monitor this. What's your response?
I think it's everybody's job. Every time any corporation doesn't properly secure personal identifying information for people, any time that any corporation is really part of a problem, whether it created it or not, we're in this together. Without collaboration, cooperation, communication, without sharing threat assessment information, we're never going to get a handle on this. And then one last thing, combine that with the fact that because of sequestration, the IRS has actually been cut back, which forced it to cut back its enforcement activities.
That's their excuse, that they don't have enough money to do what they need to do. Shane, I want to bring you back in here and show some of the numbers you shared with the Willis Report. And this is called Total TurboTax Customer Growth. What you see in this chart is an incredible boom in what's called multi-filer customer growth. That's really the suspicious filers out there. You see that grow over time. Why did that happen to TurboTax? Is it because they're just the biggest guy on the block, or were they really doing something that courted that business?
Well, sure. And if you listen to the rest of that tape, you will literally hear the assistant or deputy counsel, as well as the director of the company, talking about how they had cracked down on fraud. They saw their revenue drop. The amount of tax fraud reported to the IRS did not go down. So they said, well, all we did was the tax went somewhere else. The tax fraud went somewhere else. And the reality is they did have the ability to cut back.